When we think of prehistoric sea monsters, our minds usually go straight to the Loch Ness Monster, the graceful, long-necked plesiosaur. It's elegant, it's iconic, and honestly, compared to its cousin, it was a pacifist. Meet the Pliosaurs, the bad boys of the Mesozoic oceans. Evolution basically took a T-Rex, gave it 4 wings, and told it to conquer the seas, and it did. For over 100 million years, these things weren't just at the top of the food chain. They dominate the food chain. But here's the thing. Scientifically speaking, nothing about the pliosaur was normal. Their anatomy was a biomechanical nightmare. Their hunting strategy was borderline alien. And their bite force? It makes a great white shark look like a gummy bear. Today, we're diving into the deep end to figure out how these biological glitches became the most successful predators in Earth's history. From their underwater flight to their high-tech sensory systems, we're breaking down why, physically and evolutionarily, the pliosaurs shouldn't have existed. But I'm glad they did from a safe 150 million year distance. Here it is, the Pliosaurs. If the long-necked Plesiosaurs were the ballerinas of the ocean, the Pliosaurs were the heavy-duty tanks. And every tank needs a main cannon. For the Pliosaur, that was its skull. In some species, like the massive Kronosaurus, the head made up nearly 25% of its entire body length. Imagine a creature the size of a school bus where the first 3 meters is just mouth. This wasn't just an anatomical quirk. It was an evolutionary total commitment to maximum destruction. Most aquatic predators prefer a snap and swallow method, but the pliosaurs were built for crunch and destroy. But the real magic or nightmare is in the engineering. Most reptiles have relatively thin, lightweight skulls to save energy and stay buoyant. But the pliosaurs? They ignored that rule entirely. Their skulls were reinforced, heavy-duty structures with massive bone density designed to withstand immense internal pressure. Looking at the back of the skull, we see these enormous openings called temporal fenestrae. In a living pliosaur, these weren't empty holes. They were packed with jaw muscles so thick and powerful they would have been visible as huge bulges behind the eyes. These muscles didn't just close the mouth. They anchored the jaws so firmly that no amount of struggling from a multi-ton prey item could shake them loose. When a pliosaur closed its jaws, it wasn't just a bite. It was a mechanical failure of whatever was caught inside. Scientists estimating the bite force of Pliosaurus funki, the legendary predator X, arrived at a staggering 150,000 newtons. To give you some context, that is roughly 4 times the crushing power of a Tyrannosaurus rex, and nearly 10 times that of a great white shark. And then there are the teeth. They weren't just sharp, they were evolved for different tasks. The front teeth were huge, often over 30 centimeters long, designed to impale and grip. But as you move back, the teeth become sturdier, specialized for crushing bone and shell. In many species, these teeth had a trihedral shape, a triangular cross-section with sharp ridges that acted like a serrated knife and a wedge at the same time. Essentially, the pliosaur skull was a biological hydraulic press. Once those jaws locked in, the physics of the Mesozoic oceans meant there was only one outcome: devoid. It didn't just hunt its prey, it deleted it from the fossil record. This was the pinnacle of vertebrate bite mechanics, an apex weapon that reigned supreme for over 100 million years. If the pliosaur's head was the weapon, its body was the ultimate delivery system. But how do you move a multi-ton frame through the water fast enough to catch agile prey? This is where the pliosaurs truly broke the mold. Most marine animals, from sharks to whales, rely on their tails for propulsion. They push against the water with a side-to-side or up-and-down motion. The pliosaurs looked at that and decided on something completely different. They used a method we call underwater flight. Instead of a powerful tail, they possessed 4 massive wing-like flippers. This is a biological rarity. In the modern world, sea turtles use a similar 4-flipper setup, but they're built for endurance, not high-speed interception. But the pliosaurs turn this into a high-performance engine. For decades, paleontologists debated how these 4 wings actually worked. Did they flap them all at once? Did they alternate? Recent biomechanical modeling suggests a far more sophisticated system. It appears the front flippers acted like stabilizers and provided the initial lift, while the rear flippers were the turbos, providing massive bursts of thrust. Imagine the sheer power required to accelerate a 10-meter-long Kronosaurus from a standstill. By using all 4 limbs, they could achieve incredible burst speeds, lunging at prey with a suddenness that defied their size. This 4-wing propulsion gave them a level of maneuverability that no other large predator in history could match. They could turn on a dime and strike from angles their prey never saw coming. But there's a catch to being this specialized. This all-wheel drive swimming style is incredibly energy-intensive. It's like driving a supercar. It's fast, it's dominant, but it burns through fuel at an alarming rate. This tells us the pliosaur wasn't a cruiser that spent all day roaming the open ocean. It was a tactical interceptor, a master of the ambush that waited for the perfect moment to unleash its power. Every stroke of those 4 massive flippers was a feat of engineering, proving that in the Mesozoic oceans, the pliosaurs didn't just swim. They conquered the water through brute force and biological ingenuity. Having the world's strongest bite and a high-performance propulsion system is useless if you can't find your target. And in the vast, dark expanse of the prehistoric oceans, finding a meal was the ultimate challenge. But once again, the pliosaurs were playing a different game. They were equipped with a sensory suite that felt more like military hardware than natural biology. Let's talk about their vision. While many marine reptiles had eyes positioned on the sides of their heads for a wide field of view, many pliosaurs evolved eyes that tilted slightly forward. This gave them a degree of binocular vision, the ability to overlap their visual fields to perceive depth. In a world where a missed strike meant wasting a massive amount of energy, being able to pinpoint exactly how far away a panicked ichthyosaur wasn't just a luxury, it was a survival necessity. But their most alien feature was hidden inside their snout. If you look closely at a pliosaur skull, you'll notice a series of small openings and channels leading to the roof of the mouth. For a long time, we weren't sure what they were for. Now we believe these were part of a sophisticated underwater sniffing system. Unlike us, pliosaurs didn't need to breathe through their noses to smell. Instead, as they swam, water was forced into internal chambers, where it passed over highly sensitive chemoreceptors before being expelled. Essentially, they were constantly tasting the water in 3D. They could detect the chemical trail of a wounded animal or a migrating pod from miles away, tracking them through the darkness like a heat-seeking missile. They also possessed a series of pits along their jaws that likely housed pressure sensors, similar to the lateral lines in fish or the integumentary sense organs in crocodiles. These allowed them to feel the minute vibrations of a splashing prey item long before they could see it. When you combine binocular sight, directional chemical tracking, and vibration and sensitivity, you realize that for a pliosaur, the ocean wasn't a dark, empty void. It was a map of data. They saw the world through a lens of movement and scent, making them one of the most efficient search and destroy machines to ever haunt the deep. To truly appreciate the pliosaur, you have to look at its cousin, the long-necked plesiosaur. They both started from the same evolutionary roots, but they chose 2 completely opposite paths to dominate the ocean. It was a million-year-long experiment in 2 very different ways of being a monster. The long-necked plesiosaurs were the ultimate snipers. Their strategy was all about stealth and reach. By keeping a massive body far away from a school of fish, they could move that tiny head at the end of a long, flexible neck with almost zero water disturbance. The prey wouldn't even see the attack coming until the head was already in their personal space. It was a low-energy, high-efficiency way of life, great for picking off small, fast-moving targets. But the pliosaurs, they traded the sniper rifle for a sledgehammer. They abandoned the long neck because at the speeds they wanted to travel, a long neck is just drag. It's a liability. By shortening the neck and fusing it with a massive muscular torso, the pliosaur became a high-speed battering ram. While the plesiosaur was picking off snacks, the pliosaur was hunting the hunters. This led to a completely different tactical game. The pliosaur was a power striker. They didn't need to be subtle. Their hunting style was more akin to a great white shark on steroids, using that four-flipper propulsion to launch a vertical or horizontal ambush, hitting their prey with such force that the initial impact likely stunned or incapacitated them before the jaws even closed. In the plesiosaur world, survival was about being invisible until the last second. But in the pliosaur world, survival was about being the biggest, fastest, and most violent thing in the room. They weren't just eating different food, they were living in a different reality. One was a master of the finesse game, while the other was the unbeatable king of brute force. It's one of the most fascinating divides in paleontology. Two branches of the same family, one evolving for the needle, the other for the axe. And for millions of years, the ocean was big enough for both, until the world started to change. To understand the sheer scale of this family, we have to look at the individuals that defined it. While the pliosaur blueprint was consistent, these three giants took that design to its absolute limit, becoming the stuff of both scientific fascination and Hollywood nightmares. First, we have the most famous of them all, Liopleurodon. If you grew up watching nature documentaries, you probably remember this creature as a 25-meter-long god of the sea. But as it turns out, we were a bit overenthusiastic. Modern science has corrected the record, placing Liopleurodon at a more realistic, yet still terrifying. What it lacked in movie monster length, it made up for in sheer efficiency. It was the perfect mid-sized predator, agile, fast, and equipped with a sense of smell that could track prey across entire ocean basins. Then, there's Kronosaurus, the titan of the southern hemisphere. Named after the Greek titan who devoured his own children, Kronosaurus was a 10-meter slab of muscle and bone found in the waters of Australia and Colombia. If Liopleurodon was the tactical scout, Kronosaurus was the heavy artillery. Its skull was over 2 meters long, filled with conical teeth designed not just to pierce, but to shatter. It lived during the early Cretaceous, a time when the oceans were a battlefield, and it sat comfortably at the top, likely preying on everything from giant turtles to other long-necked plesiosaurs. But the title for the most legendary of the bunch belongs to a specimen found in the freezing winds of the Arctic, Pliosaurus funki. Better known to the world by its viral codename, Predator X. When its fossils were first pulled from the permafrost of Svalbard, Norway, the world went into a frenzy. Initial reports suggested a monster so large it defied the laws of biology, while the hype eventually settled into a confirmed length of about 10 to 12 meters. The Predator X moniker stuck for a reason. Its biomechanics were the peak of pliosaur evolution. With a bite force that dwarfed the T-Rex, it was a specialist in taking down the largest marine animals of its time. It represents the absolute ceiling of what a reptilian predator can achieve in a marine environment. These three weren't just animals, they were evolutionary statements. Whether it was the fame of Liopleurodon, the raw power of Kronosaurus, or the mysterious allure of Predator X, they proved that for over 100 million years, if you entered the water, you were playing by their rules. For nearly 80 million years, the pliosaurs were the undisputed masters of the abyss. They had survived shifting continents and changing currents, seemingly invincible in their role as the ocean's heavy hitters. But in the world of evolution, being the biggest and the baddest comes with a hidden price. By the mid-Cretaceous, the pliosaurs were starting to hit a wall. Nature began to change the rules of the game. Global temperatures shifted, and ocean circulation patterns were disrupted, leading to a massive decline in their primary food sources. The pliosaurs were high-maintenance predators. Their all-wheel drive, four-flipper propulsion, and massive muscular frames required a staggering amount of calories to keep running. When the buffet of large marine reptiles started to disappear, the pliosaurs found themselves driving a gas guzzler in a world where fuel was running out. But their disappearance wasn't just about a lack of food, it was about new competition. While the pliosaurs were struggling to adapt, a new group was rising from the shadows of the shoreline: the Mesozoic. Unlike the pliosaurs, who were heavy, specialized tanks, the early Mesozoic were sleek, agile, and much more adaptable. They didn't rely on expensive four-wing underwater flight. Instead, they evolved a streamlined, eel-like swimming style using a powerful tail, which was far more energy efficient for long-distance cruising. As the pliosaurs faded into extinction, the Mesozoic stepped into the vacuum, claiming the throne of the apex predator. When the famous asteroid hit Earth 66 million years ago, the pliosaurs had already been gone for millions of years. They were a magnificent biological gamble, an experiment in raw power and specialized mechanics that worked perfectly until it didn't. Today, they exist only as massive stone-cold puzzles in our museums. They remind us that nothing about the pliosaur was normal. They were a glitch in the system, a moment in time when nature decided to see just how far it could push the limits of a predator. And while their reign eventually ended, the sheer scale of their ambition still haunts the deep blue to this day. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the life of pliosaurs, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Don't forget to share the video too. We've got more prehistoric marine reptiles coming your way soon. Until next time, stay curious.